understand, we're not talking about gardeners, housekeepers, or people like that. We're talking about as many as 291,000 individuals who are called criminal aliens, who are people either with criminal charges pending or criminal convictions, and who have exhausted all of their legal remedies. In other words, there's no due process issue involved here. These are people who basically didn't show up at their immigration hearing, even though they got a notice to appear before an immigration judge. So the judge issued a order of deportation, but these individuals have simply defied those courts' decisions and remained in the United States, even though they had no legal right to do so. And I don't have to remind you how many innocent victims there have been of criminal aliens who have come across the border and harmed Americans and other people here in our country. You know and I know that many people want to come to the United States. There is a legal way to do that. We honor and respect people who play by the rules, and we are better off for them being here. But when you have open border policies like the Biden administration had, you have no earthly idea who is coming to the United States. And we know that for a fact there are people who are on terrorist watch lists. We know people who are convicted criminals, those who are otherwise up to no good, who simply came into the country because President Biden basically waved them into the country and did not distinguish between good people and the people who really were up to absolutely no good. So I'm grateful to President Trump for his enforcing the law. Many of my Democratic colleagues said we needed to pass new laws in order to control the border, when the truth is we needed a new president. And President Trump is that person, and we've seen a dramatic decrease in the number of illegal border crossings here in El Paso and all across the U.S.-Mexico border. But the important point here is that Congress appropriated $175 billion for the Department of Homeland Security and ICE to build facilities like this and to hire the personnel in order to return people who had no right to be here in the first place back to the country of back to their native country. And the top of the list are the people, like I mentioned a moment ago, people who either are convicted criminals or who are under criminal charges. But the most important part, I think, for your audience to hear, is that these are people under final orders of deportation. They have no legal remedy. They have no legal right to be here. They simply refused not only to respect our immigration laws, they refused to respect the lawful orders of a court after having an opportunity to have their day in court. I'm happy to answer a few questions.
Senator Cornyn, I wonder if you could speak to specifics in terms of what is happening with this particular facility. What we're talking about in terms of numbers that are there right now and how it's going to ramp up to the numbers that you're talking about.
Well, the facility is not yet open. It'll open in about a week, and there'll be up to 1,000 individuals detained there. The officials with ICE told me they will be given a medical exam. They will be categorized based on risk. In other words, some people cross the border illegally. They'll be treated in a much less secure facility. Others with convictions, criminal convictions, and other gang members and others will be put in a more secure facility at this location. But as you know, here we are in El Paso. Many of these people will be repatriated to their home countries or sent to other locations from this facility. But it's on the edge of Fort Bliss, this huge military facility. It's not actually part of it in terms of the way the base operates, but it'll be opening in a week, and up to 1,000 individuals will be detained there.
Okay, I was confused. I thought they had already started taking.
No.
They have not.
No.
What's the policy going to be for families?
No families at this facility. I ask no families and no children, just single adults.
Senator, can you describe the installations? Is it tents? Is there like beds? And as you can see, it's a lot of heat. Do we see any air system, or how will they handle that?
Yeah, what did you see?
Yeah, I've been in many detention facilities operated by the U.S. government. They all meet federal or state standards in terms of providing access to medical care, in terms of air conditioning in the hot Texas summer, and 3 meals a day, and a place to sleep. And of course, there has to be separation between men and women at these facilities. I did not go into this facility. We saw it from a distance, but instead of the temporary soft-sided facilities, which is what they call them, basically fancy tents, this will be a hard wall and a permanent facility that will be here for the foreseeable future.
Senator, one of the issues with facilities like this is congressional oversight. Obviously, a number of Democrats have filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration. What is your thought on that lawsuit? And do you feel that there's a disconnect between some members of Congress getting access and others?
Well, I think it's important for congressional oversight, but that requires members of Congress not to commit acts of violence or disobedience of the law themselves. And we've seen some people basically try to crash these facilities. These are secure facilities where it's important to have controls and where to allow them to do their job and not to allow members of Congress or anybody else to interfere. But I do believe that once this is up and running, I expect it should be open at scheduled times for members of Congress to see and provide congressional oversight. And I think it's important to let members of the media see so the American people can see what the conditions are. These are humane, safe facilities, and in many instances a vast improvement over what many of these folks are used to.
Senator, what's the meaning or importance for you to have facilities like this one in Texas border communities like El Paso? Do you think that it will really help the Department of Homeland Security decompress the operations ICE is conducting across the country?
Yeah, some of these people will be here for as short as maybe a couple of weeks while they are processed and then returned to their country of origin. And others are moved here because of overcrowding at other facilities and other locations. So there'll be more of these detention facilities built. You've heard a lot about Alligator Alcatraz. I call this the Lone Star lockup, and I think there will be whatever we need in order to restore the rule of law and order to our immigration system. Again, our legal immigration system is one of the great things about our country. Illegal immigration has been an unmitigated disaster, and that's what we've experienced for the last 4 years, and what we are going to be, the consequences of this are going to be with us, I'm afraid, for many years to come. But President Trump is doing what he said he would do when he campaigned, and that is securing the border and actually removing these criminal aliens who have no legal right to be here is an important part of sending the message that you shouldn't come because you won't be able to stay unless you come here through legal means.
You know, in terms of oversight, Senator, this contract is awarded, $1 billion contract awarded to a company without a lot of history in immigration detention facilities. Your thoughts on those contracts and the job being done here by an untested company? Have you interfaced with them? Have you gotten to know much about that contract?
Well, that's the reason why I think there needs to be appropriate congressional oversight. We'll have a chance in about a week. Once the facility opens, ICE has told us that we can come back and monitor the facility. But obviously, as we need to do this on their schedule, so they can conduct the operations they need to conduct safely and humanely. And I'm confident they will be, based on what I've seen in other detention facilities across the state of Texas.
Are there any plans for an expansion of this? And do you all anticipate this becoming one of those major processing centers in the country?
My understanding is this will be the largest detention facility in the country. But there may well need to be others, but this will be the biggest. And I'm sure that there'll be a decision made as terms of expansion or addition of other facilities based on the need. Thank you all very much. Yes, sir.
Can I ask about the water situation? There's the 60 days for Mexico to pay the water debt to the U.S. What's your thought? Do you think they're going to do it? What should happen?
Well, the water debt to the United States by Mexico is something that's been with us for a long time. This treaty dates back up to 1944, and Mexico never lives up to its responsibilities on a timely basis. What they typically do is wait until the end of the 5-year term of the treaty, and then they release water, but it may be at a time when it's too late, and many agriculture activities have since gone away because they did not have access to water. What we need, in addition to this temporary release, we need regular releases of water from from Mexico, and because we need something our agriculture producers can depend on a timely basis when they can use the water. And so that's going to require some additional negotiation between the United States and Mexico. I don't think we should just let the current treaty stay in place the way it is, because we'll have the same problem once again when they withhold water and for an unreasonable period of time, even though they have it. Advantage their agriculture producers in Mexico and disadvantage our folks in Texas and the United States.
Sir, could I ask you about state politics very quickly? Redistricting. The proposed map right now would remove this part of Fort Bliss from the Democrat that represents El Paso, Veronica Escobar, put it in the hands of Tony Gonzalez. Your thoughts on what's happening when it comes to the president's directive to gain 5 seats in Texas and the changes that would affect this particular plot of land we're on now?
Well, I know Congressman Gonzalez is a veteran. He will take good care of Fort Bliss. And of course, I have nothing to do with drawing the actual map, but I will say it's pretty un-Texan to cut and run instead of facing a fight head on. What I would expect is maybe you disagree, you fight, you try to prevail, but instead of doing that, these folks have gone to Boston and Chicago. The irony of that is that the maps in those states dramatically diminish the number of Republican districts there. They have taught the rest of the country how to gerrymander to the disadvantage of the minority party. But here we've seen President Trump do much better in places like Texas. In El Paso County, he got 41% of the vote in 2024. In 2020, he got 31% of the vote. So there are a lot more folks in this area who are looking at the possibility of supporting a good Republican candidate like Tony Gonzalez, and I'm glad they'll have an opportunity to be represented in the Congress.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Sorry.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for coming, sir. Appreciate you.